Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. We wanted to talk to you about our latest holmium laser. It's the M-Power 65 watt laser. We're really excited about this machine. It has a lot of cool features. Wanted to run you through an in-service today so that you could get a feel for how to operate the machine. So first things first, this is obviously the laser. This is the box here. It's got a control screen on the top of it here. And just to show you for storage and stuff, since we're here, this whole thing flips around the other way. And then it'll just fold down nicely for storage and what have you. So to start this thing up, well, actually before I do that, the other thing that's really cool about this laser is it's got a dual foot switch, which is kind of unique. And I'll show you that as we turn it on, how we can use the dual foot switch. But basically it allows us to have two different settings for each pedal. And the biggest benefit is that reduces the amount of time that anybody has to stand by the laser and change the settings or change the parameters, because you can program in the two top settings or the two preferred settings that a doctor might want, and all they have to do is switch back and forth on the foot switch to kind of toggle back and forth between those settings. The other thing that they can do with this foot switch is with this black button right here, it allows the physician to put the laser in ready or standby mode using this button here as well. So the idea is that it's very low maintenance in terms of having to have other staff operate the laser. But to get started, here's the key right here. This is the kill switch, the emergency kill switch. And so to start the laser and to turn it on, right now I've got it plugged into the wall. I'm going to turn the key on, and immediately what will happen is you're not seeing anything on the screen right away because it has to boot up and go through its process and its system checks. But the way that you know that it's on is when I flip the key on, you'll see that this ring right here illuminates around where you plug in the fiber. And in a minute here, you'll start to see the screen boot up. It's going to boot up like a computer. It goes through some system checks. When you first start this machine up, it takes about 60 seconds for it to go through this whole regimen. So not very long of a startup process. In fact, a lot of times what I do is I won't even turn it on until we've kind of started the case and it's clear that we found the stone and it makes sense that we're going to use the laser. Then I'll turn on the switch and let it go through its process. The other thing that I can show you while we're waiting for this laser to fire up is these are the fibers. They come in boxes of 5, and we've got all the different sizes, but they're individually sterile packed like this right here. So now that the machine has fired up, it takes you to a home screen here, and it's basically your jumping off point for the procedures and what you're going to be doing. With this particular laser, I would expect that most of you would be using it for lithotripsy, and so you're either going to be hitting the lithotripsy button to get started or potentially the presets button, which you may have programmed with preferable settings for each doctor. There's a lot of different things that you can do with the presets, and we're certainly happy to help you set that up and get that going when the laser first comes into the facility. So I'm going to go to lithotripsy first just to show you what that looks like. This is a touch screen, and so if I hit the screen, it gives me an option for each pedal. Again, it's dual foot switch, so we can do different things with each pedal. I'm going to choose dusting for the left pedal just for grins, and I'm going to choose stabilization for the right pedal just for grins, and then I'm going to click OK. And what that does is that takes us to the screen that shows the actual energy settings for those settings. The nice thing about those presets and those modes is that it kind of tells you what the optimal settings might be for what effect you're going for. As an example, dusting, this is a very common dusting setting, 0.2 joules and 50 hertz. Very high rate of shot with low energy, and basically what that does is dust the stone material. The stabilization mode is something that's unique to this laser, or there are a couple of other lasers out on the market, but they're actually way more expensive than this machine. So this is a fairly compelling feature for this particular machine and this price point. Basically what stabilization is it's anti-retropulsion technology that If you have a stone that, based on where it is, if it's in the yurt or what have you, and it's prone to migrate when you're shooting it with a laser, what the stabilization mode does is it uses software and pulse width settings to basically, it creates a vapor pocket right in front of the stone before the laser energy hits it, and that keeps the stone from migrating away and allows the energy to really, or the stone to absorb most of that energy. And so it's a highly effective mode for those situations where stone might migrate up the yurt or you're concerned about that. So once you're on this screen, there's all kinds of different things you can do. You can play around with the energy settings just by hitting the plus and minus buttons. You could, if you wanted to, adjust the pulse width. And then the other thing is you could go to any one of the modes once you're on this screen. If you decided you wanted to switch from stabilization to popcorning as an example, I could simply use this drop-down list, hit popcorning, and it changes the settings for me right away. The other thing about the foot switch, going back to the screen, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. The other thing that's on the screen here is you have your total energy and total time settings, and those you're going to want to record at the end of the case for the patient chart. You can, right here, adjust the aiming beam intensity if you want to by simply hitting up or down, and you could change it from a blink to a solid if you wanted to. A comment about the aiming beam. This is kind of unique to this laser versus a luminous or another type of laser. You'll only see the aiming beam illuminated like on the screen if you're watching the case if the laser is in ready mode. If it's in standby mode, you will not see the aiming beam. And the reason that is it's a safety feature. If the physician is able to put the laser in standby mode or ready mode, they need to be able to see visually what mode it's in just in case they don't hear the audible confirmation of either one of those modes. The other thing that we can do from this screen is we can go back to the home screen where we were. And if I go back to where we were, dusting, fragmenting, to get back to that program screen, we go to the home screen. We could also go into settings and change various things like presets. You probably won't use these bottom three, multimedia, PDF file, or language, but you might use presets to create some presets or edit some presets, and you might go into the device settings to maybe change some audio settings. If for some reason they can't hear the pedal and or the key sound on the screen, you can adjust those volume levels on this screen here. So going back to the main screen here, I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to go into presets and show you what that looks like. Obviously, you could do manual if you wanted to, and basically that would just take you to a screen and you can play around with the energy settings for each foot switch if you wanted to. If you go into presets, you'll see that we've programmed a couple here for this facility. And as an example, if I go 8 and 8 in dusting and I click OK, it'll bring those settings up, what we've set up for this facility. And if we wanted to make some changes to it, like let's say we decided we wanted to use this as a basis, but we wanted to create a new preset, and we're just going to, let's say we wanted to go 1 and 1 over here, or I'm sorry, 1 and 10, and leave this dusting setting over here, then we'd go into settings, we'd go into presets, and we'd create a new preset. And basically when you create a new preset, what that does is it captures the settings that you had on that energy screen most recently, and then it would create a new. So if I did, let's just do 1 and 10 as an example and hit OK. Whoops. And 10 as an example, hit OK. There's 1 and 10. Hit OK. And there's our 1 and 10 and our dusting settings. BPH and soft tissue, you probably won't use this as frequently, but definitely this machine has that capability. And if you have questions about that, I'm not going to get into that in this in-service, but if you have questions about that, please do let us know. My contact information will be at the end of our contact information, Rob and my contact information will be at the end of the video, and we can walk you through some of those settings and some of those procedures if that's of interest to you. So getting back to this energy screen, I'm going to show you how to put the fiber in. I'll open up a fiber here. And show you how to get it all plugged in. So these fibers come with, there's a little cap on the top of it that you're going to want to unscrew on the laser end of the fiber. That comes off. And then this is kind of a handy little deal. You can open this, whoops, I just did it, what I wanted to show you. You can either open this insert area for the fiber manually with this lever right here, or what's even handier is, especially since people seem to be shorthanded when they're setting up for surgery, if you wave your hand over this little infrared thing here, it'll hold it open for you long enough so that you can get the fiber in and get it screwed in. And this fiber screws in. You want to make sure that it screws in all the way, which I've done. And when you do that, you'll get some prompts that come up on the screen. Number one, this is one that's giving you information about the fiber, and you can just hit close and click through that. And then the other thing is when you first set up this machine and the first time you put it in ready, there's going to be some prompts that you have to click through. So what you may want to do as the circulator or the nurse that's manning the laser, rather than have the doctor put it in ready the first time, you may want to just do it on the touch screen here, because I'll show you when I hit ready, then I have to click through the fiber information, and then there's also a little safety prompt with respect to the proper eyewear. And since we're on that subject, these are some typical laser goggles. If you're not familiar with that, this type would wrap around a pair of eyeglasses, and this is for folks that don't wear eyeglasses. You need to make sure that you have these for everyone in the room, including the patient, and then you need to also have a pair hanging on each door, the door going into the core and the door going out into the main hallway for anybody that might enter the room while you're using the laser. Since we're on the subject, I'll also show you the signs. You'd also want to have a sign on each door so that people know before they enter the room that a laser is being used and that there are safety precautions associated with the use of that laser. And these are all according to the AORN guidelines. And since we're on the subject, the other thing that I can show you with respect to safety is we have developed this handy little form that can go in the patient chart. And basically it captures some basic information about the case. There's a place here where you can put a patient sticker, you can put the fiber stickers here, procedure start time, end time, the safety items that were used, you can just check the boxes. And really the only energy parameters that you need to capture are the total energy and the total time. And that's what we showed you on that screen there. So if you'd like to have a copy of this, I've got it in Word version so that you can customize it for your needs. We certainly can get you one of these. All right, getting back to the fiber, or starting up the laser and getting it ready for the first time. So I'm going to click through the eyewear prompt, and then now the machine is booting up and going into ready mode for the first time. And it goes into this kind of launch sequence. It doesn't do this every time you go into standby and ready. It really only does it the first time to calibrate the machine for the settings, and it won't do it again unless it's been in standby for a long time. Or if you radically change the energy settings, then it'll do that launch sequence again while it's adjusting the parameters. But if I hit ready right now, you'll see that it just goes right back into ready. And I can do that with a foot switch, as I mentioned earlier. I don't know if you want to pan down. If not, it's not a big deal. So here are the two switches for, there's a left pedal, right pedal, obviously. Similar to a Bovie or our bipolar generator for cut and coag. Same type of idea, but you've got two different laser settings, energy settings. But then the other thing is by depressing this black button right here for about 3 seconds, it'll put it in standby. It just did. It just put it in standby. And then again, if I wanted to put it in ready, I'd do the same thing. I'd depress it with my foot for about 3 seconds. And then now it's in ready mode. Troubleshooting. Well, did I miss anything, Rob? Is there anything else you'd cover? Okay. So troubleshooting, a couple tips. If for some reason the laser is not starting up when you turn the key and things are not working as they should be, I would check the kill switch and make sure that it is not depressed. If it is pushed in, what you do to release it is just simply twist it to the right. Just give it a gentle twist and it'll pop out. The other thing is on the back side of the machine, and I'll show you some footage of that in a minute, there is a breaker switch or a master switch. You'd want to make sure that that's flipped up and in the on position as well if the laser's not coming to life when you turn the key. Now, to shut down the machine, it's very similar to shutting down a PC. If we don't want to just turn the key off, we want to, on the screen, there's a power button, and when you have the energy settings up, it's at the very top, and it's a little bit smaller. When you're on the home screen, it's a little bigger. It's down here, and it's a little bit bigger. You want to shut down the machine by hitting this button, because what it does is it takes the machine through a shutdown sequence, similar to the startup sequence where it checks all the systems. And then the other thing is the fan will run for a little while after it's been turned off just to cool down all the elements. So I'll demonstrate that for you right now. It's going to ask for confirmation. I hit yes. And now the machine has switched down, but you can hear that the fan is still going. And it'll go for a few minutes after the machine's been used, depending on how hard it's been used. So I would, at the end of the case, shut it down this way and then wait for the fan to stop and then turn the key off. And there went the fan. So now, well, actually it's still running. I'd wait a little bit longer for the fan to cool things down and then turn the switch off. And that's all there is to it. Appreciate you tuning in today. As I mentioned, there goes the fan. Our contact information will be at the end of this video. Please contact us if you have questions or if anything peculiar comes up with your machine. Thank you.